guys, coming at you from the WXYZ bar here at the Aloft Hotel, right nearby the Phoenix Airport, Arizona. Need to do a little bit of catch-up work here while I enjoy this IPA from some local brewery. I didn't get the name, so sorry. But we need to do a little bit of catch-up work here. This vlog is going to step back a few days, get back into the tail end of the Los Angeles, California road trip, because I got a little bit backed up. There's a little bit of a pile-up of footage of days from the road trip. Need to just compile these all into one vlog so we can get as near to the present as possible, as quickly as possible. So in order to do that, we have to go back to Tuesday, when I was finally able to take you guys somewhere that I've been meaning to bring you since the very first time we brought the vlog to Los Angeles. .53 in the PM. This property houses one of my favorite bars in all the land. Definitely one of my favorites in Los Angeles. It's mandatory that you come here before sunset. The Huntley Hotel in Santa Monica, California. Rather than me just stand here on the sidewalk and talking about it, let's go inside. Alright guys, I hope I don't look like too big of a weirdo here, sitting indoors with sunglasses on, talking to my camera and my phone at the same time. Actually, that's pretty inevitable that I'm gonna look like a huge weirdo, but that's okay, because I'm in one of my favorite bars in the world, the Penthouse. This place is called the Penthouse, on top of the aforementioned Huntley Hotel in Santa Monica. I've been waking up and doing the editing pretty much as soon as I get up. I'll either edit half a video or as much of the video as I can, then go play some poker and record. Come back home, edit again, either that night or the following day again, rinse and repeat, go out, record again, etc. So it's basically impossible to get anywhere before sundown. Definitely need to come here before the sun goes down so you can see the sunset and see this awesome view during the daytime. With a view like this and a sunset like this makes me miss a certain someone. Definitely more productive, slightly more productive when we're each doing our own thing, but this is a proper date spot right here. Later on that evening, after just one drink, mind you, just one drink and some food, it's time to go play some cards. Inglewood, California on a Tuesday night. This property has pretty quickly emerged as one of my favorites on the West Coast for sure. We've been here once before, so don't need to tell you once again that it's been recently redone. There's always other options here in Los Angeles, but this is usually one of the best options available. Not really too much more introduction needed for this establishment. Let's just get in there, get to work. in this poker room. I think I'm gonna check out the 5-5 games. My good buddy David Fu plays here regularly, speaks highly of them. I'm gonna check out these 5-5s and see how we do for a bit. I was a little disappointed that there was no 5-10 games running, but we were able to get into one of the 4 5-5 games that were going that evening pretty quickly. So in this hand, there's a $10 straddle on. There's a couple limps, and I looked down at King Jack off suit in the cutoff position, raise it up here to $60. Only the straddler calls. So heads up to a flop of Queen 8-5. He checks it over to me, and I'm just gonna check it back here in this spot. Turn's a good card. Turn is a king, so we make top pair here. He leads $60. Don't think there's too many choices here. Don't really want to raise in this spot and never folding, so I make the call. River pairs the board, brings another 5 on board. He checks it over to me, and I'm pretty sure I have the best hand here. So when he checks over to me, I'm gonna try and go for some very small value. I don't think he's gonna call too big of a bet here, so I'm gonna size way down. I'm chopping with all other kings anyway, and there's not really too many misdraws available anyway, so I'm gonna go for very small value. I got $50, try to take him to value town here a little bit, and he makes the call. I show my hand, and he shows us ace-10 for a ace-high call down. So if he was that non-believing, maybe we could have squeezed even some more value out of him. Maybe with the bigger bet, we could have got more value, but happy to get a call there from ace-high. In this next hand, we're playing 7-handed. The under the gun player limps, and I look down at pocket 7s, which you can barely see in this video. Not my best camera work here, but we have pocket 7s, and I raise it up to $25. Button and the small blind call, and then the big blind jams all in. It's got a short stack. It's only got about $70 total. Folds to me, and I think I want to protect here a little bit. I want to fold out a lot of overcard type hands, and I feel like it's pretty likely that I have the best hand in this spot. I feel like a lot of overpair type holdings would consider another raise, and this, especially so, this being Los Angeles. So I think I'm going to try and isolate here and try and put in a little protection. So I make it 170 to go. Everyone else folds. So we're going heads up, and the board comes 2 aces, and my opponent appears to like that flop. Yes! Turns his hand over right away. He's got ace-8, and we're drawing to 2 outs, which cannot hit this time, so not gonna win this flip. Doesn't go our way, but pretty sure I like my isolation raise there. One of those sessions where it burns your eyes. Step out into that sunlight after being in the casino for at least 8 hours, at least. Wrapping up the session here, bright and early in the morning. It was also another one of those kind of anticlimactic sessions. Got into the game for $1,000, cashed out of the game for $848 for a loss of $152 according to my math, and it's very early morning math, so you should be impressed that I actually got that right. Seeing as how my sleep schedule was pretty much ruined for the rest of Wednesday, I just took that day to kind of use it as a recuperation day. I had to check out of my hotel that morning, check into a new hotel, took a much needed nap, and then just use the rest of the day to answer some emails, and like I said, just recuperate and just chill. But then Thursday, back on the grind. This right here used to be my favorite casino when I was living here in Los Angeles, California. Larry Flint's Hustler Casino. The reason it used to be my favorite casino is I felt like it was always like the most Vegas-like casino out of any in Los Angeles. It's always been a really nice property in here, and the 5-5 games have always been at least one of the best 5-5 offerings that I've ever come across in my grinding days. So that's actually the plan today. Gonna be in the 5-5 mix, Meeting up with a gentleman who some of you may or may not know. He's pretty well known in the poker commentary world, podcasting world, sports world even. Gonna go in there and say hi. He should have my name on the list by now, so let's go find out. Here we are, next to the voice of several of your favorite poker moments, perhaps.
And some of your most hated poker moments, I bet.
I don't think so. I wouldn't say that.
It could be. Oh my gosh!
Classic.
Right.
Such a classic. So, yeah, here we are, Hustler Casino in fabulous Gardena, California. And I just wanted to ask you, like, because things operate here a little bit differently in LA as opposed to Vegas, especially for like someone like yourself. So I thought maybe you could just give us like a very quick explainer of like what a host and what a prop player does, and basically why it exists here in LA as a profession, as like a job, and why it does not in Las Vegas.
I can't speak on Las Vegas. I don't know. I actually didn't know that it doesn't exist in Las Vegas.
I mean, as far as I know, so like the only like real poker host I know of is JRB at the Aria. He's, you know, running the high roller game over there. Aside from that, I don't know of any rooms that have props or hosts to run the games.
Funny enough, okay, so many moons ago, I was playing poker at the Bike, and I was talking to somebody, and I found out through something. They were like, "Hey, you should be a prop here." And I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, they pay you to play."
Yeah.
I was like, "What? What? Wait."
Yeah.
And then I found out, you know, there's more to it than that. It's, you know, it's you're starting games. When the game is good, you get up. You're constantly playing short games.
Yeah. So when it's full and there's a list, then you get up and let someone else who's on the list, who's you know, not a regular or whatever, or a regular but not a prop.
Right. And I've got a pretty good deal. But like even today, you saw, you know, you and I were here pretty much at the same time. You sat down, and I kind of sat around and like let other customers come in and take a seat until I finally found a table and sat down.
Yeah.
But that's the basic gist of being a prop. Is you're starting games. And it doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that it's making the casino money.
Right.
Because let's say you have two props, and they're paying the props $30 an hour, just for argument's sake. But that table is now going. You know, they're probably bringing in, especially if it's a limit game, they could be bringing in $175 an hour.
Yeah.
You know, plus the game goes, plus the customers start getting acclimated to the fact that, oh, good, the game is starting at 10:30 in the morning. So having the casino knowing that there will be props here on a set schedule is really cool. I used to say way back when, I said, like, to me being a prop is kind of like an apprenticeship to being a professional poker player. I think you learn a lot because you've got to play in games with maniacs, you've got to play in midi games, you've got to play in short games, you've got to play in full range games, and you've got to be able to adapt and adjust to no matter what game it is.
Yeah. So you basically have no say in the matter as far as like which games you want to play and which game you don't want to play.
Generally speaking, that's what a prop does.
Yeah.
But, you know, most casinos will take care of their props.
Okay.
And they're not going to, like, you know, they're going to try to take care of them. And if they're in a good game, or let's say they're stuck and they want to stay in the game, or let's say they're up and they want to stay in the game because the game's good, they're not going to just, like, you know, be like a yo-yo, because otherwise their props will go broke. And they're constantly looking for no props, which doesn't help the casino at all.
Got it.
So they're going to try to treat them well.
It's interesting, but yeah, we don't have these things in Vegas, so it's you know, interesting job.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of cool. I mean, I will say, like, I remember when I bought my first house, I was propping at the Bike at the time, and it was a huge advantage in getting a mortgage to have a quote unquote job.
Sure.
You know, and you got to realize that even if it's, like, let's say they're paying you $30 an hour, a lot of times it's $15 on the clock and then $15 rake back, and the $15 rake back is tax free because you're getting your rake back.
Yeah.
So it actually works out to more money. $30 an hour full time is $60,000 a year. I know when I was at the Bike, I was getting health care. I got 401k. I mean, it was a pretty good deal.
That's a really good deal. It's a really good job. I mean, a lot of people would like to have that job, I would think.
Move to LA, apply. I mean, I know Gardens has it. I know Hustler has it.
Yeah.
And I know the Bike has it. Some of the great advantages of being a poker player is the fact that you don't have a schedule.
Right.
Now, I think to be a successful poker player, you have to be disciplined and stay on some sort of a schedule. Yeah. But The fact of the matter is, though, if you want to take a week off and go to Arizona, you can.
Yeah, I mean, the freedom, I've said a bunch of times, freedom is by far the best part of being a professional poker player.
Right, and when you're a prop, you lose that freedom. And it's a job.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie,
So
when I propped at the bike I propped in the bike, I started in 04. I propped 04, 05, and then I left in 06. And I will tell you that my hourly went way up because game selection I could do now. And as a poker player, I enjoyed it a lot more. Yeah, so I like the gig now. I don't know if I would prop anymore. I don't think I would.
Well, I mean, like, your enjoyment of the thing you're doing is pretty big
Huge.
as far as importance goes.
Right.
So, like, in that regard, what do you see yourself down the road, maybe, like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years from now? It's always hard to say, you know, that far in advance. Who knows, really? But, like, do you think you see yourself focusing on, like, the commentary profession or the poker profession, or what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I love what I'm doing now. Like, I love the fact that it's balanced, that I have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I think if I did only one of those things, I would miss the other one too much.
Yeah.
I'm not built to play 40 hours of poker. I think 40 hours of poker a week just sounds miserable. It just that's so to me,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like to me, like that sweet spot of like 15 to 20, 23 hours a week is like really good, where it's like I can exercise my brain, I have fun, I love the game, but to me I like that.
All right, well, I know you got a newborn to get back to and you know, go take care of, so congratulations in that regard.
Hey, thanks for coming to Hustler, man.
Oh, my pleasure. One of my favorite rooms there is, the Hustler Casino.
Sweet.
All right, buddy.
Awesome.
All right, so I kind of bounced back and forth. Started in the 5-5. We turned the 5-5 into a 5-10 game. I stayed in that game for a few hours and then moved back to the 5-5. So one of those situations where I was moving around a bit, playing a couple different things here and there. Which brings me to this next hand, still playing 5-10. I looked down at ace-3 of spades from under the gun, $35 to go. We get 4 calls, so a 5-way flop this time. Flop comes pretty favorable for us. Flop comes 5-4 deuce, 2 diamonds, 1 club. We flop the wheel. The small blind checks it and I bet $115. The player on my left calls and everybody else folds. So heads up to a turn here. Turn is a 6 of clubs. So now there's 4 to a straight on board. I decided to check it over to him to try and induce. If he happens to have a flush draw, perhaps he'll take a stab here. I don't know how much action we're going to be able to get from overpair type hands. Maybe we're at risk of him checking back a 2-pair type hand or a set, but I think there's plenty of other hands that he might bet, and he might bet those hands anyway, putting me on an overpair perhaps. But I check it over to him and he does bet. He bets $230. I think I'm happy to just flat call here. There is 1 or 2 higher straights available, particularly a 7-8 suited type hand. That's one possibility, but I think flatting makes the most sense here, so that's what I do. We're off to a river card, which is a 5 of clubs. So now there are 3 clubs on board as well as a paired board. Not exactly the run out that I had in mind, but I still feel pretty confident about my hand. I don't expect to be losing here too often. I decided to check it over to him again, hope that he keeps betting, just keep trying to induce him with the check. And he does bet again. He bets $360. I don't think there's too much decision to be made here. If he happens to have picked up clubs in some fashion and was barreling that on the turn, just gonna have to pay that off. He could easily have missed diamonds here. He could easily have some sort of trips type hand. Plenty of hands that we either beat or chop, so I'm just not going anywhere. I go ahead and make the call, and he turns over pocket 4s. I guess we can take solace in the fact that he decided not to raise the flop, because pretty sure I would have been 3-betting that flop and very likely getting it in and losing the maximum. So I guess we saved a little bit due to the action as it went down, but prefer a win, not gonna lie. I would have preferred to win that hand. One more pretty interesting hand here to check out. So there's a straddle on in this hand. The button open limps, small blind calls, and I look down at ace queen of clubs in the big blinds. I'm gonna try and raise it up here, get some value for a mostly premium hand, especially in a limped pot. So I make it $60 to go. Straddler folds. The button decides that he was going for the old limp re-raise. He makes it 170 to go. Small blind folds. I think we are somewhere around $1,000 effective. Ace queen suited, I think, is a little bit too good to fold to the even to the dreaded limp re-raise. Just not really in a folding mood, especially so this evening. So I make the call. We're off to a flop, which comes king queen 3 with 2 clubs. So we flop middle pair, top kicker, nut flush draw. Check it over to the limp re-raiser, who puts out a bet of 175. So at this point he's got somewhere in the neighborhood of $750 left, something like that. And it's an interesting spot in this exact situation because this player doesn't tend to shy away from putting the pressure on. What makes it awkward is if I flat call here and then we see a brick turn card, he's not one to really take his foot off the gas too often. So in that situation, if he either jams or bets a hefty amount, it's going to be pretty awkward. And I sort of run the risk of folding the best hand versus this type of player. But then again, if his range is really that wide, perhaps I should just be flatting to keep his range wide and just call it off no matter what. Maybe just close my eyes and call. Not exactly sure, but I do know that if I raise, I always have outs no matter what. I do have some blockers to some pretty good hands, such as pocket aces, pocket queens, king queen, and ace king. So we block all those hands. We don't block pocket kings. And yes, I know having blockers does not mean it's impossible for him to have those hands. Just makes it a little bit less likely. So with those factors in mind, and not wanting to be caught in a weird spot on the turn facing a brick and then a big bet, decide to raise it up. I throw 7 white chips in there for a total of $700, which would effectively commit him. And he goes into the tank, which is good. We didn't want to hear the snap all in. So he's in the tank, and eventually he decides on a fold. And he says something about having ace king and how much he hates ace king, and he's you know, ace king sucks or whatever. So one of the players at the table told me to show the bluff, and I said, well, it was not really a pure bluff. It was definitely a semi-bluff, if anything. And so they decided to rabbit hunt, and turn was an offsuit 10 and river was an offsuit 4. So facing an offsuit 10 and facing a huge bet, I don't know. Not too sure about that spot. Not sure if I can just call it off. Maybe after picking up a gut shot to go along with the nut flush draw and second pair. I don't know. Weird spot. But if he did happen to have ace king, then that's a great result, because I wasn't sure if I had fold equity there versus a better hand. I thought it was close. I thought it might be possible that he could fold ace king, but wasn't super confident about it. But if it is possible that he can fold a better hand there, then I for sure like a raise much better in that spot. So after all was said and done, which once again, there was a lot to be said and many hours of poker played, moving from one stake to the other and then back again, we were in the game for $3,300. I should say the games. I was mostly in the 5-10 game for this amount. In the games for $3,300, we cash out exactly $3,400. So not exactly sure that's that good of an hourly, because that's many hours of poker, but happy to get out of a very deep hole, which was somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,300 at one point. Booking a win of $100 feels pretty sweet after being stuck $2,300. Once Friday came around, it was once again that same issue that I'd been dealing with around LA of the overpriced hotel situation. The previous Friday, I had a pretty good session out at San Manuel Casino, and seeing as how the hotels out that way are much more reasonably priced, I just decided to make the executive decision to try and repeat the feat, head back out to San Manuel, find an affordable place to stay that evening, get back to it out there. G level. Remember, whoever designed this parking structure here at San Manuel, I hope this is the only work they did. There has never been a more confusing parking structure than this one. This hand was definitely the most interesting hand from the session on Friday. It was going to be a short session because I had to drive out from LA after doing some editing from the previous day, the previous vlog, I should say. So it was going to be a short session, but this hand, for sure the most interesting one. And in this one, the cutoff makes it $35. The button puts in a 3-bet, makes it $125. And it's a pretty sweet situation because I look down at pocket aces in the big blind. Definitely gonna put in a 4-bet here, so I make it $330 to go. Folds back to the button, who tanks for a while, and then he makes the call. Heads up to a flop, which comes Jack, Jack, 9. I think I wanna size down here a little bit. Board is fairly dry, no flush draws on board. Always wanna size accordingly across all your hands and across your range, so I don't know, that sounds like it makes sense. So I'm gonna bet $235. The button makes the call. So we see a turn card, which comes pretty much a brick, I think, 7. My opponent only has, I think, about $700 left at this point. And I say only, $700, it's no small chunk of change, of course, but according to the size of the pot, relatively small stack to pot size ratio. So I think it's a pretty straightforward jam here. I go ahead and jam all in. My opponent goes well into the tank. Thinking for quite some time here in this spot. Thinking it over. No communication back and forth. But eventually he decides on a call. So we're off to see a river card, which comes a king. A little bit worrisome because I would think pocket kings has to be a reasonable hand for him to have in this spot, to be tanking for so long. So I show my hands, and good news is that he mucks. So I have to think pocket queens is extremely likely there. Of course, it's just guessing. Who knows? Could have had a non-believing smaller pair for sure. The world will never know, but I do know that we're scooping in this pot. Pretty good sized pot here. Only mildly confused this time, trying to find my car. Apparently only certain elevators go to certain floors. The first elevators do not go to back to G. Highly recommend valeting here next time. So yeah, pretty good session. In for 1,500, out for 35.75 for a profit of $2,075. So that's going to bring us to the present situation, much closer at least, much closer. Wrapped up the California portion of the road trip. Always nice to have a really solid session there at the tail end of it to officially and pretty clearly put a nice profitable stamp on the road trip. And I want to say I love being on the road, and it's awesome. It's a blast to be able to just travel around, be mobile, find poker games, which I know are all over the country at this point, and there's many more spots that I want to get to, and not only just playing the poker, but being able to just bring my laptop along, as well as this camera and some other cameras, and just be able to create and do all the editing on the laptop and get these videos to you guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the change of scenery as much as I have, and if so, then not too much more to say other than expect much more of this sort of thing in these videos going forward.